As you learn about the narcissistic pattern, it's also wise to reflect on the much healthier alternatives. Now, below you're going to find a link to my new extensive course called Ready, Set, Connect. It addresses both the mindset and the skills involved in gratifying relationships, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. If you spent much time around individuals who have a strong narcissistic bent, you'll notice rather often that these individuals have fooled themselves into thinking that if they can be the one who controls the people in front of them, or if they can push their agenda or their narrative on other individuals, somehow that makes them the winner. Somehow that proves that they're a person to be reckoned with. When in fact, no, all it does is it shows that they don't know how to relate well with other individuals. Narcissism, with all of its many ingredients, is simply a failed pattern of living. If an individual has to elevate themselves at other people's expense, they want to have that false attitude of superiority over others. If they are that super controlling kind of a person, if they have no particular regard or need for others or need to hear from them, if they have a pathological defensiveness and all that goes with it, that's not a good way of living. And in fact, that pattern of living is something that, to me anyway, is a psychological trap of their own making. They can't get out of it. It's so indigenous to who they are because they've been living this way for so long, and they've convinced themselves so strongly that they're in the right that they just simply can't pull out of it, and so they're bound by their own pathology. Now, if I had to pick one phrase that would describe where these individuals are that keep these people trapped in their own pathological pattern of narcissism, it would be the simple phrase that says, I have to be right. Have you ever been around a narcissist who thinks like that? Of course, yeah, that's central to the way they think. They don't consider themselves to be a fellow sojourner that's connected to many individuals, but instead, like I say, they have all of these unhealthy characteristics, but in their mind, being right and having the best way to do things says, well, I'm a winner. Or let's take it and narrow it down even more so. Narcissists are highly opinionated. Now, in and of itself, having opinions certainly is not a wrong thing. It's good to have opinions. But when we talk about narcissists saying, I have to be right, basically what they're saying is, my opinion is the only one that matters. And in doing so, there's so much that they miss that's part of a healthy way of life, and this is part of that entrapment that they have in their pathology. In the life of the narcissist, opinion overrides characteristics like openness. Opinion overrides empathy. Their opinions override any objectivity. Their opinions override their desire to be an encourager. Opinion overrides insight or curiosity. Opinion overrides their efforts to affirm others. Opinion overrides their team efforts. Opinion overrides being friendly. Opinion overrides being conscientious. Opinion overrides intimacy and relationship development. Opinion overrides harmony. It overrides patience. It overrides your free expression. And ultimately, their need to be right and their hard opinions that go along with it override their capacity for love. They don't know how to do that, and they miss so many of those healthier ingredients. But we go back to that one phrase that describes who they are, and that is, I have to be right. I mean, have you ever noticed that the narcissist is going to come across very easily as being critical? They're hardly ever pleased. They're pushy. They're stubborn. They're bossy. They're insightful. They're closed. Does that sound like a good way to live? And so now we can see that in this need for correctness, in this hard opinionated way, They bound themselves into all sorts of characteristics that are the antithesis to a good life. Now, I think it's interesting for us to ask the question, why is being so right such a major issue to the narcissist? Why is their opinion the only thing that matters, at least as far as they're concerned? Well, when you think about it, the opinionated, always right narcissist is in a chronic compensation mode. When you have to put someone else down in order to elevate yourself, it says something's not right on the inside. And basically, when we say compensation, these are individuals who fear being rejected. These are individuals who fear appearing to be inadequate. And so, as a compensation for that potential, they go with the notion that says, I'll show you who's a somebody around here. And it's like, the old Shakespearean phrase, methinkest thou protestest too much. It's like, why do you keep making such a big deal about all of that? Well, obviously, then we take this a little bit further. It tells us that these are strongly insecure people. They have a deep history of uncertainty about who they are and their self-esteem. But interestingly, they build their self-esteem, like I say, at your expense. They don't really have confidence in goodness and character. They have confidence in their ability to bully, or their confidence in their ability to find fault in other individuals. That's not a good way to live. Likewise, when we ask why is this such a big deal to them, these individuals have somehow through the years convinced themselves that the authority person is the one who is the real rock star. Now, it's good to have a certain expertise about things and to know a lot about some things, but authoritarianism is based upon, again, bringing other individuals down, and it's a false way to live. They wind up denying their own inadequacies as they point out your inadequacies, and what it means is they're living behind a false self, but they won't admit it. That's part of the entrapment, and that's part of what keeps them inside the whole pattern of narcissism. Typically, when you look at narcissists, they have a deep history, if they would be honest, of not really feeling well heard or tuned into or understood. But instead of thinking, knowing that I didn't have that in my history, I want to make sure that I accentuate the positive alternatives to that. No, what they do is they just take that pattern and they pass it along to the people that are in front of them. And so empathy, even though they needed it, it's not a skill that they've learned, so they don't have it to offer other individuals. These are shame-based people. Now, again, they would probably say, that's not a problem for me. Well, somewhere in their past, probably many, many times over, they were exposed to lots of judgments. They were exposed to the grid that says you have to stay inside of this or else you're not going to be accepted. And so they decided, well, if I can be the one who's constantly correct and whose opinion is so good, if I can be the one to pronounce shame upon other individuals, you see, that releases me from my shame. When in fact, no, all it does is it passes negative characteristics from inside oneself to another person. They don't see that. Ultimately, narcissists are the ultimate pessimists. When they have to say, I've got to be right, the implication is they have such a dim view of people pretty much anywhere they go. It's like, I'm surrounded by idiots, I'm surrounded by negative people, that they don't see the goodness and they don't see the beauty in the world around them. So, we can say that narcissism is a failed way of life. It's a trap that these individuals are in, and the trap is set up by that one statement, I have to be right. And I'm hoping that as you're able to see it, you're going to be able to stay away from it. There is one big mistake that I hope that you can avoid making when you're engaging with these people, and that is you don't want to respond in kind. So many times when they come toward you with their sense of correctness and their strong opinions, you feel like shoving yours right back at them, and all that means is you're in the game with them. So instead, why don't we just say, I have opinions, and I like it when I'm correct. I don't apologize for having those opinions, nor should you. But you see, here's the deal. I don't want to be bound so much by my need for correctness, and I don't want to be bound and entrapped by my own opinions that I'm unable to learn or grow or expand and explore. Those kinds of things I find to be intriguing, and the more I allow myself to have a sense of openness, then I'm going to be that much more of a well-rounded individual. And I'm not able to do that if I'm trapped with that mindset that says, well, everything I say and do is right. That means I'm a closed system. So to that narcissist, I'm going to go ahead and say, why don't you go ahead and be your own right, closed-minded self? I'm going to be the one that you see way off in the distance, moving toward new horizons. You're trapped. I'm free. That's how I want to go. I hope that videos such as this can give you some good awareness about what you're dealing with, and it can also prompt you to figure out what you can do to be the better alternative. That's what we do here on Team Healthy on our Surviving Narcissism channel. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that. Hit the like button. That helps us in the algorithm section. If you have a need for therapy, and I know that many times as you're trying to sift these kind of things out, you could use somebody that could help you in that regard. I'm so pleased that we're sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's a very popular and widespread online therapy service. There's a link below that will take you to that. And if that's something that you would need, I would strongly encourage you to go in that direction. Also, I have my therapeutic courses. And these are courses that I put a whole lot of effort into it. It's like signing up for an online class. Where we have each course has multiple videos and written documents that go with it and guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect about having healthy connection skills. This is me establishing boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite the controllers. And if that would be something you'd be interested in, look into that. We also have my podcast now. For those of you in the podcast world, we have my books. We have our website with many articles on there. So there are a lot of resources. So I would encourage you to take advantage of all of it. I have to be right. Well, let's just say it's nice to be right, but even more so, it's nice to be growing and expansive. And I don't want any of that to get in the way of me being a loving person. Let's go in that direction. And in doing so, we can still have our opinions and preferences, but we can do so in a way of love and dignity and respect. And it allows us to experience and also bring peace to those in our presence.